This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey folks, it is clear that DeFi is continuing to drive innovation and growth in the crypto space. The Crypto Conversation sponsor BitGet has dived deep into DeFi with the recent evolution of the BitGet wallet, a self-custody multi-chain DeFi wallet. You can think of the BitGet wallet as the integration of some of the best parts of decentralized finance or DeFi with the BitGet exchange, centralized finance or CeFi structure. And it's more than just secure storage. One of the most important aspects of the Web3 BitGet wallet is BitGet Swap, which supports tokens from more than 90 different blockchains and offers cross-chain compatibility across 17 different chains. BitGet Swap aggregates liquidity across 100 DEXs and leverages intelligent routing mechanisms to provide users with the best trading prices across different protocols. So try the BitGet wallet. Download the app today. I've put a link in the show notes, or just go to web3.bitget.com. All right. Well, thank you to BitGet. And now it is on with the show. And my guest today is Jae Yang. Jae is the CEO of Tacen and the Chief Architect of Project TXA. What is Tacen and Project TXA? We'll learn all about that today. Welcome to the show, Jae.
Thank you for inviting me. Good to be here.
Good to have you here, Jae. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show before we learn about the Tacen exchange. Be great to learn a little bit about you, Jae. So if you could please just share a little bit of your, I suppose, personal and professional backstory. What have you been doing in the lead up to getting involved with crypto exchanges?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is actually in aerospace and defense sector. So I worked in the defense sector for about 9.5 years, working primarily in helicopters, engineering side of things, a lot of engineering simulations and all that stuff. And then it's a very small field, so I did my time, and I said, yeah, let's actually work in a consumer-facing app. So started working at a company that did comparison shopping. That was a startup. And then after that, moved on to IoT, like home alerts and that sort of thing at Samsung SmartThings. I worked in a very different fields there. And then after that, joined up as a director of engineering at a blockchain company called Metal Pay or Metallicus, and helped launch the product there. And first got into crypto some time ago, and so by the time that I joined, Metal Pay was it was a good amount of information that I already learned, and then some new things that were happening. So yeah, that was an exciting time, like 2018 time period. Then 2019 came along. Did my thing, and then I, thought about, oh wow, I've been trading a lot since 2006, and what kind of exchange would I want to trade in? Wrote down some ideas on my laptop on the flight back from attending a friend's wedding, and then started a company in 2019 July, and it's been nonstop ever since.
Very good. Thank you, Jae. And, I just kind of have to ask, it's quite interesting, as you've explained, working in, I think you said, aerospace engineering for the military, and that's quite a small field. I'm sure it's, rewarding work and probably reasonably well rewarded. Was it a tough field to move away from, or just ready for a different kind of engineering challenge?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think most people will have a couple different careers in their life. I think doing rotorcraft engineering for 10 years, I've kind of seen various different sides of it. And I said, yeah, I've been writing a lot of software, and it's about time I write different kinds of software, not just like, flight control related stuff or, flight training device stuff. So I wanted to do something different, much more like website of things. And so, yeah, that's when I made a jump. And I would say I'm very glad that I've made the jump. I mean, like, the field is very difficult to get into unless you're trained in 4 years of these things, and then you have like nominally get master's degrees or whatever it is, and then after that, like, it's a very narrow field with a very like closely guarded trade secrets and all that stuff. And so moving away from it is a lot more difficult than I think I thought about at the time. I mean, now that I think about it, wow, like, it could have turned any other way. I might not have made it in the consumer facing software world. So yeah, it was a little difficult.
I can imagine. All right. Well, thank you, Jae. So yeah, we kind of said at the beginning that you're the CEO of Tacen and the chief architect of Project TXA. So I suppose it'd be good if you could just clarify for the listeners the distinction there in between the Tacen Exchange and Project TXA and how they relate to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So Project TXA is the open source project that it seeks to build a cross-chain settlement network. So what that means is right now, blockchains are these isolated pockets of capital, and that it's hard to move assets from one to another chain without crossing a bridge or going through a centralized exchange or something like that. So, and a lot of times when people build their own exchanges, they have to build their own wallets, hot wallet management, and all that stuff. So it's a lot of like reinventing the wheel. So Project TXA helps solve that, but it's an open source project, so anybody can contribute to it. Now, Tacen is a commercial entity that's building an exchange on top of TXA's settlement network. So, like, we can build a settlement network or layer 1 or layer 2 or whatever it is, but then if we didn't have a commercial case that we're willing to test and take risk ourselves, that basically means that, well, it's an interesting science project, but, well, that's what all it is. So, we have a real skin in the game, so to speak, where the commercial wing, which is separate from the open source wing, is creating an exchange on top of the settlement network, and also provides valuable, insights into, okay, usage pattern looks more like this in terms of like when the developers are building on top of the open source project. So it's a best of both worlds. The exchange is non-custodial. That means that no one's actually depositing anything into the exchange. It's all handled by its integration with the settlement network. So it's extremely fast, cross-chain, and non-custodial. So yeah, it's a way to dog food our own technology, so to speak.
Got it. And just to explain again then, because so you mentioned, Jae, that when you were, I suppose, first getting into various crypto projects back in 2018, I think MetalPay, you did a lot of engineering work for them, and I suppose you were trading as well. And just talk through, I suppose, from your perspective, and particularly interested in this from a kind of, I guess, a technical engineering focused person, what you saw as some of the frustrations or limitations with the crypto exchange experience.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's also a broader, it begs a question about the broader nature of like what an exchange is as well. I've been trading, options and stocks and all that stuff since 2006, like pretty much first time I had a job. And I always had a frustration. Okay, I had to deposit the money and that's in someone else's custody, at which point they can decide, we're going to lock you out of your own fund. or decide, hey, you're not going to see your money within reasonable period of time because something else, right? So it doesn't happen very frequently, but when it does, it hits everybody pretty hard, meaning like, oh, I need access to my own money. Why is it such a big deal? And thinking about that and just thinking about like just traditional brokerage firm experience, it's actually not that different for most of the centralized crypto exchanges that are out there. I mean, of course, MetalPay itself was not an exchange, so it was linked to the exchanges. So it's a little different situation, but even so, like users are at the mercy of the exchanges because exchanges hold all the keys. Ironically, ironically and also physically. So the this whole thing about not your keys, not your money is very much true. Exchanges can lock out your account and all that stuff. So that's like one of the first like biggest frustrations that I felt. It happens more often than it really should. The second frustration was we don't really know whether exchanges mean it when they say, "Oh, we have proof of reserve," but proof of reserve means nothing, right? We know that there's a couple $1 billion in some exchange because hot wallets and cold wallets they submit the results publicly or whatever. But that doesn't tell us anything about what are the obligations that these exchanges have because they use the depositor fund for some other purposes, which is exactly what happened with FTX. Even if Sam Bankman-Fried were to have told everyone, here's a 30-something $billion where all the billions of dollars are. Even if he were to have told the depositors that, he wouldn't have told depositors, yeah, by the way, out of those $37 billion or whatever, I've used that as a collateral for some stupid bet, right? So proof of reserves don't really tell us a lot about who really has who is the money spoken for. And so those have been the big questions in my mind for many years, ever since I started getting into crypto in earnest. And again, like for all of the decentralization arguments that we have, we still have a centralization problem, and that's what we're trying to fix with Project TXA.
Yeah, very well said, Jae. All right, well, talk a little bit more then, just in specifics in terms of how you want to try and solve that centralization problem with Project TXA, and also, how you think Tacen differs from some other DEXs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the last question first. So meaning, what are DEXs, and how do they perform? DEXs have been very useful if you want to do wallet to wallet trade or swaps. The problem is that trading on the DEX requires the trader to pay very high gas fees, right? And then that's because blockchains have this nature where writing any data onto blockchain is very expensive because it needs to persist and all that stuff. So that's one thing. The second is when you submit an order, whether it's a swap or whatever, it takes a fairly long time, at least 11 seconds on Ethereum. And then some other chains, it's all bound to the block time, because when you submit a transaction that says, I want to swap, you have to wait until the block time, elapses, right? So in a traditional trading world, that's an eternity. Like when you say 11 seconds, that is, many orders of magnitude bigger than say 16 microseconds. So when I submit an order in NASDAQ directly, because I have, let's say direct market access, then advancing one time step to match my order against other people order in the NASDAQ exchange is 16 microseconds. That is, many orders of magnitude smaller than 11 seconds. So that's one problem DEXs have, speed. And because of that also, fees that you pay, very expensive. The other day I was trying to trade $10 worth of Matic for something else, and do it through a cross-chain protocol that uses liquidity pools, and it was like $11 to trade $10 worth of crypto, and that's another problem, which is blockchains are self-contained, which means that in order to go from one chain to another, you have to go through a bridge. And bridges are huge targets. And we've seen, for example, Binance Smart Chain's bridge getting hacked for like 600 million not too long ago. That's a couple of months ago. So these are security risk as well. Now, on the centralized exchange side, we've already talked about custody risk and people running away with money and all that stuff. And the only reason why people trade are because it's fast. And it also allows for, me to trade one asset on one chain for another asset on another chain, because centralized exchanges are connected to multiple, full nodes in different crypto, networks, right? So you can think of Tacen, and what Project TXA does is to bridge that gap. What Project TXA does is to allow self-custody, but it doesn't expect the settlements to happen after every trade, unlike, say, Uniswap, where you do a swap, and then that one swap or trade needs to be written onto a chain. So you can think of Project TXA as a roll-up layer, or layer 2, if you will, of all of the trades being rolled up into a single result, and then that's how the settlement network saves money. But also, the settlement network itself is connected to multiple cryptocurrency networks, which means that it allows for exchanges to be built on top that allows cross-chain trades. So for an example, Tacen has a cross pair between Matic on Polygon and then USDT on Ethereum. So what that means, and it doesn't sound like much, but it is a big deal, is you can use USDT on Ethereum to purchase Matic on Polygon without having to cross the bridge. And that's a big one. And you can go vice versa. And not only that, you can trade 1 million times and not have to pay gas each time that you trade, because it's a roll-up layer. And so Tacen Exchange and Project TXA put together has a really nice characteristics. And that is like what I would like to call exchange trilemma. So first is exchange is fast. Second is exchange is non-custodial. And third is exchange is cross-chain. There are exchanges that are out there that do 2 out of 3 very well. So for example, DYDX is fast. It's non-custodial. Uniswap is not fast, but it's non-custodial, but it's also not cross-chain. Centralized exchanges are fast, and cross-chain, but not, they hold your money. So I think that what we built with Project TXA as a settlement network enables a new pattern of building applications that allow, assets to cross boundaries, relatively quickly, and like reduces the friction across the board. And I think that's like really the important part of it. And then the Tacen is showing how this is possible, and by building probably like one of the most complex like applications you can on the network, that it's proving the point that cross-chain settlement network works.
Got it. Very well said again, Jay. Thank you for that. Who are you aiming Tacen at then? Because I suppose it strikes me that it's probably really aimed at crypto natives, and not just crypto natives, but crypto native traders, which I guess is it's a reasonably large market, but kind of in the broader scheme of things, as we look to scale crypto to the mainstream, it's still a niche market.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It's a very niche market, and in fact, where the inspiration for building this one first, because number one, we're not fiat on ramp, because we're not fiat on ramp, we're not going to be onboarding, mom and pops, or my grandma, for example. So that limits the growth vector in that way. But I think, let's say that someone's comfortable buying, ETH or USDT or whatever, then what's the next step? And I think that's where we fit very well, because what they'll do is, hey, like I want to buy, I want to buy NFT that's charging its fee in Matic, right? But I have ETH. Then my option is, well, I could either bridge the ETH and then use the WETH on the Polygon and then use that to buy Matic on Polygon, or I can just buy Matic directly using USDT or something like that, right? So it solves like immediately after someone has some crypto, what do they do with the problem? I think our solution solves it very well. And then secondly, as the DEX fees go up, I think people realize, wow, like, but does that mean that I have to now compromise between safety and lower cost? And my belief is that they shouldn't have to pay higher fee to feel safer, or they shouldn't have to go to centralized exchange to pay lower fees, because gas rates are out of out of hand, right? So I think that's where we fit in very well. The third thing is, yes, it's primarily geared towards experienced traders. I mean, when you go to Tacen, Tacen and .exchange website, you'll see that, yeah, it looks like Binance. It's not like giving you a swap interface to begin with. Yeah, that's intentional. I think that the volume of trade for spot market is higher for experienced traders anyways, and maybe they're trying to establish a stack or something like that, right? Or they're part of a hedge fund and they want to say, hey, like I want to build this, I want to build position in spot because I need to make I need to sell some futures contracts or whatever to offset the certain like risk or whatever it is. So I think we start from the experienced trader and we can expand into less experienced traders, and that's why we also have a swap website, swap.tacen.exchange, that looks very similar to Uniswap and other swap products out there. So yeah, I think that's a right way to analyze what our offering is. But because we're structured the way we are, we also have a very good profile in terms of our risk for various compliance regimes. So, for an example, we don't take custody of the fund at all. In fact, we don't have administrative control over someone else's fund either. So, which means that the settlement network operates independent of us, and the exchange itself does not take custody. So that has that nice effect of exchange not taking custody, and so it's exempt from like a lot of the KYC and AML requirements. And FinCEN, which is a Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, Department of Treasury, U.S. Treasury, also made that very clear in one of their like guidances, saying that like if it's just creating a venue for the information to be shared for buying and selling, that's not subject to AML record keeping practice. So it has a very nice like combination of complying with the law, and then allowing for more financial privacy of the users, and then having a venue where it's a reliable venue where like rug pull is just impossible. So there's a lot of these things that come together, I think, makes it for a very secure platform. The inspiration for this really, like, I got it from Eric Voorhees when he created Shapeshift. He created Shapeshift as an intentionally to like have no KYC exchange, and even though like the architecture and design of it was such that he couldn't maintain that no KYC model, but I think his heart definitely was in the right place, and then I thought deep and hard about it, and that's this exchange and settlement architecture is what I came up with.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's funny you should mention Shapeshift, because that was Yeah, it was Shapeshift was a great product back in, I guess 2017, really, wasn't it? Very easy to use, simple to use, and very effective, and a great model for the DEXs that would come afterwards, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I think like, you know, what was not fortunate is the way in which Shapeshift took temporary custody, even a split second of someone else's money,
Right.
because they're essentially acting as an escrow pool. And that was like what, they couldn't re-engineer out of it. And but lessons learned.
Yeah, but from, I guess, the user experience point of view, it was pretty slick and seamless.
Absolutely. It was great. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, just as we finish up this part of the podcast, Jae, again, just tell people where they should go to learn more about Project TXA and how they can get started on Tacen, and maybe just share any kind of data you can share in terms of where Tacen is at the moment. I think, is it still in like kind of beta mainnet launch, or are you fully live? And what can you share about user metrics, volume, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we are fully live on mainnets. We are on Polygon, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Arbitrum One. So we're on multiple 4 different networks. We have I think about 7 different crypto pairs, that some of them are like cross pairs, meaning like it's cross chain pairs. And the people who are interested in the technology side of things, they can go learn more at docs.txa.app. So that will have a technical like documents and white paper links and all that stuff. But if you really want to like get right down into the code, they can go to gitlab.com, gitlab.com/project TXA, one word. And then under TXA-DSL, or decentralized settlement layer, so that's the path. And they'll see, we have active development, and they can make pull requests and all that stuff. Now the exchange itself, Tacen, is already live. It's in production network, as I mentioned, and they can go to tacen.exchange, TACEN.exchange, or swap.tacen.exchange. And if they're interested in staking, they can go to stake at stake.txa.app. Or, and I highly encourage everybody to do it, is to join us in Discord, discord.gg/project TXA, one word. And I'm there all the time. You can ask directly, hey, like, what does this code do? What does that do? Whatever it is. And we're listed in multiple places. The token symbol is TXA.
Awesome. And I'll put links in the show notes as well. And last question, just before we go to the break, Jae, sorry, I had in my notes, I saw that you're based in Wyoming, which is known to be, I suppose, one of the more crypto-friendly places in the US. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. So I'm based out of Wyoming. We're based out of Wyoming, and the Wyoming legislature has passed multiple laws that make it a lot more crypto friendly. Like one of them was DAO, the DAO LLC law, which treats DAO as an limited liability company instead of like general partnership, and then among other things. And Wyoming is one of the first states that's considering creating its own stable token. There's a project called Wyoming Stable Token Project, which I spoke in favor of. So there's a lot of innovative things that are happening both at the government level and at the private enterprise level. And state income tax here is 0%, so also makes a lot of sense for me to be here. I think there's just a lot of exciting things happening here, and people would be surprised to learn about some of those opportunities.
Very good. Very good. All right, let's go to a very quick break, and then we will come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off by running Jay through the very famous crypto conversation hot-take round. Back in 1 second.
Hey, what are you still doing up?
I've just spent my entire Friday night researching Bitcoin charts, crypto glossaries. My brain feels like it's going to explode.
Why don't you just use BitGet? It's going to save you at least 10,000 hours trying to learn it yourself. It's an online crypto exchange. You can copy successful real-life traders having their expertise to make smarter trades.
Really?
Yes, really. Don't miss out. Get on it now. And by the time you're done, Bitcoin will be worth about $100,000.
I just got my cat to help me do the research.
Hands off, gains up. Start copy trading on BitGet.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Jae Yang. Jae, of course, as we've learned, is the CEO of the Tacen exchange and the chief architect of Project TXA, decentralized settlement layer for building exchanges on. Jae, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Oh, absolutely. Bring it on.
All right. Very well. Just going to run some questions at you, Jay. Just want kind of honest hot take style answers. Yeah. Question one for you. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I'm definitely with the multi-chain opportunism, and I support BIP 300. I think the drive chain is a good idea.
All right. Well, what would you say then is your firmest conviction crypto opinion, Jay?
I think that people will use money directly from one of the cryptos to buy the groceries and things like that. I still believe that. I know people have given up on it, but I still believe it.
Oh, well, let's hope so. I suppose, Bill Gates famously said we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, DeFi, Web3, cross-chain payments that make it possible for people to, buy their coffee or whatever with crypto. What does all this look like in 10 years' time, Jay?
Oh, geez. 10 years' time, I think that people are going to have a credit card or something that looks like a credit card that they can tap on a point of sales, and then it'll just have whatever they put in there, like basket of cryptos or whatever, and then it'll automatically calculate what the fiat value is, and then use combination of cryptos that are on that wallet to make payments on the spot. And I'm surprised that we don't have that already, but I'm sure there's some company that already did that. But yeah, I think that's going to be the norm.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, William Gibson famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, Jay, but most people aren't aware of it?
Yes. So I think that the on-the-spot drug creation is a thing right now. I know I'm moving away from crypto, but for example, having a instead of 3D printer, you can think of it like drug printer, where you put in a bunch of inorganic materials, and then you say, hey, I want this kind of thing as an output, and then has an internal reactor, and then outputs a drug. I think that technology exists. It's just it's not commercialized yet.
Fascinating indeed. All right. Time to finish this off, Jay. Finally, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Oh boy, that's a great question. One of my favorite science fiction is Starship Troopers. I know it gets a very bad rep, yes. But I think that it shows a lot of people focus on the politics of it, but I think if people get into the actual text of the book, they'll find a very illuminating thoughts about unit cohesion and what a infantryman of the future would look like, and just camaraderie. I think that's what's missed when people read don't read the book and commentate on it. But it's a really interesting short novel.
Yes, indeed. I must admit, I have not read the novel published in 1959, the author Robert A. Heinlein. But of course, most people will have seen the probably more lurid Starship Troopers theatrical release. The film, of course, directed by Paul Verhoeven, released 1997. And it was kind of almost had some satire in there, and
which is also enjoyable. It was an enjoyable movie as well. I mean, even though
yeah, absolutely, with Neil Patrick Harris and Denise Richards fighting those massive space spiders. Yeah,
exactly.
Great stuff. Look, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show and spending some time with us today, Jae. Nothing else to do really, except again, please tell people where they can find you on Twitter, wherever else you like to hang out. And of course, shout out the websites again for Tacen and so on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Our project's Twitter account is project_TXA. It's project_TXA. And the Tacen's Twitter account is Tacen_app, Tacen_app, app. And the website is www.txa.app for TXA project website, and then Tacen.com for the Tacen website, TACEN. And once again, Discord is discord.gg/project TXA. At this time, all one word instead of underscore there. Just drop by and let us know. And we take community feedback very seriously, and we've been working with the community to make sure that we deliver value, and we get feedback for the exchange and all of that great stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jae. All the best, and bye for now.
Thanks again.
All right. There you go. That was Jae from Tacen and Project TXA. Very interesting chap, moving from aerospace engineering into decentralized exchange engineering. And great choice there at the end. Starship Troopers, fantastic. I bet that's a good book to read. Of course, it's a great film. It's a bit controversial, a little bit misunderstood, I think, that film. But yeah, highly recommend if you haven't seen it, Starship Troopers. Hey, we reached the end of another show, folks. Thank you for listening. Please make sure you are subscribed to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But that is it for today. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coins. See ya.